In 2014, for the seafood industry and consumers, modern slavery was not a term associated with seafood. But an investigative article in June 2014 changed all that. The article, written by The Guardian, was a watershed moment for the global seafood industry. It exposed human and labor rights abuses in supply chains linked to U.S. and European companies and put these risks front and center for the seafood industry. Since then, continued investigations by media outlets and NGOs have shown these issues reach beyond Thailand, revealing the global scale of the challenges. In response, companies and governments have increased efforts to mitigate risks of forced labor and modern slavery in seafood supply chains. New legislation is requiring companies to disclose efforts taken to reduce risks of human trafficking and forced labor across all tiers of their supplier base. But social responsibility didn't begin when these issues were pushed to the forefront by news media. Starting with United Nations Declaration on Human Rights in 1948, through to the International Labor Organization's core conventions on forced labor, international agencies have been setting standards on human rights for decades. Now, more than ever, companies are obliged by law and international frameworks to invest in the workers in their supply chains and to put at the forefront the dignity, human rights, and well-being of seafood workers. In the next few minutes, you'll learn some ways companies place workers at the center of supply chain improvements. A traditional supply chain management approach refers to taking steps to make sure your supply chains are planned, controlled, and managed effectively and efficiently in compliance with the law and your supplier codes of conduct. Typically, risks are initially assessed through due diligence practices and require an understanding of the actors and linkages across your entire supply chain, from Tier 1 to the vessel level. Ethical supply chain management, however, means going beyond traditional supply chain management and a reliance on audit-based compliance approaches to attempt to identify risk and uphold the social and human rights values of your business. It centers on practices that also directly include workers and recognizes the value and importance of worker voice, not just for the benefit of the workers, but also for the business itself. A company is prepared to directly engage with workers when it supports a pathway to remediation for the issues it may come across. This may include, but is not limited to, having safeguards in place, assessing risk to workers, and identifying who will respond if need be. It is important for companies to consider that engaging workers without appropriate remedy available can further place them in harm's way. An ethical supply chain management process will help ensure that ethically and socially responsible business practices are being upheld, including labor conditions at fisheries and processing facilities, and through the procurement of goods and services at each step of up and downstream operations. It can support the setup of proper safeguards to protect workers within critical business processes, such as recruitment and worker representation, and empowering workers to be informed of their rights and have safe, well-functioning channels for remedy. Engaging workers in ways that at minimum do no harm or put workers at risk to reprisals supports the investment in ethical supply chain management and provides inroads for workers to be active participants in company success beyond just social responsibility programs. We will highlight 5 ways companies can develop stronger, ethical supply chain management.